anything from KFC. That's what it means to boycott. Okay, now that we've finished going over the vocabulary words for today's activity, let's go to slide 19 and look at some questions about today's reading assignment. So I've given you 6 questions about today's reading assignments, and I want you to take some time to find the answers to these 6 questions. In fact, you have 8 minutes to find the answers to these questions. Number 1, what is a hero famous for? Number 2, what is a celebrity famous for? Number 3, who do heroes serve? Number 4, who do celebrities serve? Number 5, what sacrifices do heroes make? And number 6, what sacrifices do celebrities make? So I want you to take 8 minutes to find the answers to these questions. So I want you to put your video on pause for 8 minutes, and then after 8 minutes, turn on the video again, and we will go over the answers to these questions. So please pause your video now. Okay, did you find the answers to these questions? Well, let's go over these answers together and see how you did. So the first question is, what is a hero famous for? And the answer is that heroes are famous for what they have done. They are famous for what they have done. And let's look at the second question. What is a celebrity famous for? Well, according to the articles that we read, a celebrity is famous for being famous. So do you see the difference between a hero and a celebrity? A hero is famous for doing something, but a celebrity is famous simply for being famous. Let's continue to the third question. And the third question is, who do heroes serve? The answer is that heroes serve to redeem society. So there's that word redeem again. And so what this means is that heroes serve to help improve society. So by their action and by the things they do, heroes help to improve society. They help to improve the lives of other people. That's who heroes serve. Now, let's contrast that with question number 4. Who do celebrities serve? Well, celebrities serve themselves. They are not necessarily serving society. Instead, they are serving themselves. So we see a big difference between who heroes serve and who celebrities serve. Now, let's look at question number 5. What sacrifices do heroes make? Well, heroes sacrifice many things. They sacrifice their comfort, their jobs, their freedoms, and even their lives. So that's why when we looked at the vocabulary word redeem, I showed you pictures of New York firefighters on 9/11, because on that day, literally hundreds of New York firefighters died that day rescuing people from the World Trade Center. And so they were rescuing these people, and they gave their lives to rescue these people in the middle of that horrible, horrible tragedy. Okay. Now, let's look again at the difference between heroes and celebrities. In question number 6, we have the question, what sacrifices do celebrities make? Now, some people might say, oh, celebrities don't really make any sacrifices. Well, that's not completely true, because celebrities do sacrifice their freedom to some extent. They do sacrifice their privacy to some extent. But these sacrifices, while they are real, they actually are not as much of a sacrifice as the sacrifice that real heroes make. The sacrifices that celebrities make pale in comparison to the sacrifices that real heroes make. Now, coming back to the sacrifices that real heroes make, let me tell you the story of another man who sacrificed himself, who made sacrifices, and actually enormous sacrifices, to help his city. This man was named Marvin Smith, and he was a city official in the city where he was. And what happened was, he found out about corruption in the city government. He found out that some other government officials, some other city officials were receiving money from the federal government to help poor people find homes, find affordable housing. But what these city officials were doing was they were hiring workers, they were overcharging the workers for building these homes for the poor, and then they themselves were pocketing the money and giving extra money to these workers who were building these homes. And by doing that, they were stealing thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars from the federal government to use for their own personal ends. Now, Marvin Smith found out about this corruption, and he went to the FBI. Now, this was not an easy thing for Marvin Smith to do, because Marvin Smith was an African American, he was black, and he remembered how the FBI had spied on Dr. Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement. So he had a problem with trusting the FBI. But he knew that this corruption was serious enough that he had to trust the FBI. So he cooperated with the FBI, and as a result of fighting corruption, he lost his wife, he lost his job, and he lost his public reputation, because he had to act a certain part, and because of that, everybody in his town thought he was a bad guy, when the truth was, he was actually trying to help the people of his city by fighting corruption. But in the end, because he cooperated with the FBI and was able to collect evidence, he was able to testify against these criminals in court. And because of his testimony, these city officials who were corrupt ended up going to prison. And so Marvin Smith was willing to make these tremendous sacrifices to help the people of his city. And if he had not made those tremendous sacrifices, then it would have been much more difficult for poor people in his city to find good homes to live in. So, were his sacrifices worth it? Well, some would look at his sacrifices and say, well, he lost his family, he lost his job, and he lost his reputation. I don't know if I would be willing to make those kinds of sacrifices. Others would look at his sacrifices and say, you know, it cost him a lot, but those sacrifices were worth it because he ended up helping many other people. So these are some of the differences between celebrities and heroes. And talking about sacrifices that celebrities make, well, let me tell you a story about some of the darker side of being famous. There were some young people from Singapore who competed to become part of a K-pop singing group from South Korea. These young people ended up having to give up contact with their friends. They could not surf the internet, and they had to eat very strict diets. They also had to do dance and voice lessons many hours every day. And they had strict rules on how they could and could not behave. So these young people made very real sacrifices. But they did it because they wanted to become famous. Now, what happened was really sad. One of the young people in this group, a young lady, was later severely criticized by her fans. And because of this severe criticism, she was so discouraged that she ended up committing suicide. And so this is part of the dark side of being famous. So this young lady made sacrifices. And we have to ask ourselves, were her sacrifices worth it? So these are some things to think about. And in slide 20, you can see this K-pop group that I'm talking about. So let's go to slide 21. And let's talk about celebrity worship versus hero worship. I want you to find the answers to these two questions on slide 21. The first question is, list at least 2 dangers that Linda Fobister says are caused by the cult of celebrity. And the second question is, according to Linda Fobister, how does hero worship as opposed to celebrity worship help us? So you have 5 minutes